Sing with me. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I am found. Was blind, and now I see. Amen. Please be seated. All I know is that there is amazing grace because there is brokenness, wounds to be healed, sorrow and sin. God has that ability to surprise us in the midst of our own chaos and pain. And at the end, God's amazing grace triumphs over human blindness and sin. There is amazing grace not because we reached perfection, but because we are imperfect, because we are a work in progress. And even in that unfinished work that we are, God's work might be revealed in us. All I know is, was blind, and now I see. We think that we can all identify, I think that we can all identify with the blind character in this story. Having a moment of revelation and spiritual vision about ourselves and the world, maybe after a long period of time, or maybe during our whole life being blind, receiving a grace that we were not looking for, being questioned because of our faith, our experience, our stories, or having the courage to tell everybody, I am who I am, unapologetically. I know that there is a certain modern difficulty in believing that these kinds of healing miracles we find in the Bible can happen, especially those healing stories about Jesus. I had the same kind of difficulty being a kid. In Cuba, my home country, where my grandmother used to pray and make the sign of the cross in my sick body. What are you doing, abuela? I used to ask her all the time, while she was whispering the healing prayers that she learned from her abuela. And with time, I got to recognize that the miracle was not in the healing itself, but in my own work in progress from blindness in a socialist, materialistic country like Cuba to believing something greater than myself, and in feeling in my bones my abuela's love and care and deep spirituality. All I know is I was blind, and now I see. Also, for the blind man in the Bible story, the miracle is not the recovery of his sight, but the deep transformation, the work in progress he is able to acknowledge happening in himself. His courage to stand by his experience in front of others, like the religious leaders or even his own family. His clarity in recognizing God's power working through Jesus in him, and his willingness to believe in something bigger than himself and bigger than the religious framework he was formed in. He doesn't know how God's amazing grace made the miracle happen, and it doesn't matter because all he knows is he was blind, and now I see. Haven't you experienced a similar kind of miracle in your life? What has God been doing in your lives lately? What amazing grace has been poured in you? What is your story? Do you have a story like the one of this blind man? A story that can be summarized in this simple line. All I know is, I was blind, and now I see. It's a simple story. It's a story about past and present. We don't know exactly how it happened, how that work in progress happened, but we know that something happened in us at some point. Dear friends, in this blessed season of Lent, we are called to hold strongly to our own experiences of blindness and amazing grace in our lives. We are invited to recognize our brokenness, the dust that we are, and our life journey to dust. As we said at the beginning of this season, and at the same time seeing with our spiritual eyes God's work revealed in us. We may not know right now what God needs to transform in us. Maybe we lack the courage to come to God and ask for the conversion we are yearning for. Maybe we are still waiting for a special encounter with Jesus. Or maybe our current situation is blinding us on God's work at the point of feeling forsaken or silenced or beaten down by God. No matter our current situation, stop in the middle of the journey through the desert of this life. Examine your life and ask yourself the questions of your heart. Do not be afraid of the silence, and do not be afraid of your feelings. As the blind man in this story, do not stay in the past, in the years of blindness, in the lacking, or in the unsuccessful attempt. Just ask for God's work to be revealed in you. Sing with me again. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved